You can buy your morning coffee from people you will never meet, in places you will never see, and somehow the cup still appears in your hand. Welcome to another video based on the book What People Get Wrong About Economics, a guide to the core concepts by Library of Ideas. Today I tell you about the market and why it is not just a place where people buy and sell things. Imagine standing in a small coffee shop before work. You tap your card, hear the beep, take the cup and walk away. Simple, ordinary, almost boring, which is how human beings usually hide miracles. But inside that cup is a whole chain of strangers: farmers, drivers, warehouse workers, roasters, shop owners, baristas. None of them know you. None of them planned your morning. And yet their actions somehow fit together. That is the strange thing about the market. It creates order among people who do not know each other, do not trust each other personally, and may never speak the same language. The question is not why you bought coffee. The question is how so many strangers knew what to do before you even arrived. It is just after 7 in the morning in Chicago. The air is sharp, the pavements still damp from the night. Elena steps into a small coffee shop on the corner before heading to the train. The line moves quickly, people in coats, headphones on, eyes half awake. Behind the counter, a barista calls out orders with practiced rhythm. Steam rises from the machines. Cups slide across stainless steel. Elena, the barista says, reading from the screen. She taps her card. A soft beep. The receipt prints. A paper cup is placed in her hand. The whole exchange lasts less than 20 seconds. She does not know where the beans were grown. She has never met the farmer who picked them on a hillside in Colombia. She has not seen the cargo ship that carried them across the ocean, nor the lorry that carried them from the port. She does not know who owns the roastery or who negotiated the lease for this shop. Yet somehow all of them are part of this moment. Decisions made months earlier in distant places now meet her morning routine. Harvests, fuel prices, shipping schedules, wages, weather. Thousands of separate choices converge without anyone directing them from above. She steps back onto the street, coffee warming her hands. She does not know the people involved, and still everything works. Most people would shrug. It is just business. Companies want to earn money. A coffee shop sells coffee, customers buy it, end of story. In this simple view, the market is either a physical place or a mindset. A street filled with shops, a collection of firms chasing profit, buying and selling, nothing more. If pressed, someone might add that competition keeps things moving, or that profit is the force behind it all. But that explanation barely scratches the surface. What is truly remarkable is not that someone wants to make money. It is that thousands of people scattered across continents coordinate their actions without ever knowing one another. The farmer in Colombia does not wake up thinking about Elena's morning commute. The lorry driver does not care who drinks the coffee. The barista has never met the captain of the cargo ship. They do not share a plan. They do not trust one another personally. Many of them do not even speak the same language. And yet their efforts fit together with surprising precision. That level of coordination cannot rest on goodwill alone. Something deeper and more structured is at work, even if we rarely notice it while holding a warm cup on a cold morning. The focus begins to shift. The market is not the cafe on the corner. It is not a shopping centre or a financial district. It is not even the visible act of buying and selling. The word appears quietly. Market. A market is a mechanism, a way of coordinating countless exchanges between strangers without a single mind directing them all. No one sits in an office deciding how many cups of coffee Chicago will need this morning. No global manager arranges the harvest, the shipment, the roasting, and the final sale in one giant plan. And yet the pieces somehow fit together. This is not chaos. It is a different kind of order. An order built on signals rather than commands. Elena does not need to know the fuel costs for cargo ships. She does not need to follow the weather in the Colombian highlands or calculate the wages of dock workers. She does not need to read reports about container shortages. All she sees is the price written on the board. And that single number carries compressed information from far beyond the shop itself. Harvest sizes, transport costs, demand in other cities. Thousands of decisions made by people she will never meet. She does not need the whole story. The price is enough. And through that small signal, her choice quietly aligns with the choices of strangers across the world. Human beings somehow coordinating without knowing one another. Which, honestly, is more impressive than most political summits humans proudly televise. For this system to work, a few basic things have to exist first. People must be able to own things and decide what to do with them. The farmer controls his crop. The shipping company controls its vessels. The cafe owner controls the shop. Without that ability to decide and dispose of property, the chain breaks almost immediately. Exchanges also have to be voluntary. Each step happens because somebody expects to gain something from it. No one forces Elena to buy coffee. No one forces the farmer to grow beans instead of wheat or bananas or something else entirely. Information moves through prices. When fuel costs rise, prices shift. When demand increases, prices shift again. Those changes act like signals moving through the network. Produce more, produce less, look elsewhere, adapt. Competition keeps those signals sharp. If one cafe becomes too expensive or starts serving terrible coffee, customers slowly drift somewhere else. Humans are surprisingly loyal to convenience, but not usually to burnt coffee. Civilization has limits. If one supplier becomes inefficient, another takes its place. And as the system grows, people specialize more deeply. The farmer focuses on growing beans. The roaster perfects flavor. The barista perfects speed and service. Each person depends more heavily on strangers, yet the whole network becomes larger and more productive. The market does not require people to love each other. It does not require shared beliefs or moral agreement. It asks something much simpler. Respond to incentives. That is the mechanism, not sentimental, structural. But a mechanism is not the same thing as perfection. The market can allocate resources with astonishing efficiency. It can connect supply and demand across entire continents faster than any committee or ministry could realistically manage. It can reduce waste. It can reward people who use resources well. And yet, it can also leave people behind. If someone has no money, their need does not appear inside the system as demand. The market responds to purchasing power, not to suffering itself. A person who cannot pay sends no signal the mechanism can recognize. Production may run smoothly while inequality grows at the same time. Those with valuable skills, capital, or strong positions may gain far more from the system. Others may struggle just to stay afloat. And this creates a tension that never fully disappears. From the perspective of efficiency, the market may be functioning exactly as intended. From the perspective of justice, the outcome may feel deeply uncomfortable. Because the market is not a moral judge, It does not measure fairness. It does not calculate compassion. Its language is simpler than that. It translates willingness and ability to pay into action. That is what it does. But the consequences of that process carry moral weight whether the system intends it or not. People experience those outcomes as opportunity or exclusion, security or hardship. And this tension returns every time societies argue about regulation, welfare, inequality, or the role of the state. Because efficiency and justice do not always walk in the same direction. Seen from a wider angle, something remarkable comes into focus. The market is one of the strangest social inventions humans have ever created. It allows millions of people to coordinate their actions without meeting one another, without sharing personal trust, and without sitting together to design a common plan. A farmer in Colombia, a ship crew crossing the Atlantic, a trader in New York, a cafe owner in Chicago, a commuter buying coffee before work. None of them coordinates directly, and yet their decisions align often enough to keep the whole system running. Without a mechanism like this, cooperation usually stays local. It depends on familiarity, shared customs, family ties, direct relationships. Scale remains limited because people can only organize effectively with those they know. But the market changes that. It allows cooperation to stretch across oceans, across languages, across entire continents. Human beings who would never trust each other personally still manage to participate in the same system every single day. But there is a trade-off. The market simplifies reality. It reduces an impossibly complex world into price signals and transactions. It translates countless human factors into numbers. And numbers do not see everything. The market does not measure meaning. It does not ask whether a transaction creates a better life. It does not care about intention, dignity, or purpose. It only processes signals. That simplification is exactly what gives the market its power, and later it will also become one of its biggest limitations. Elena steps back onto the pavement as the noise of traffic rises around her. She adjusts her scarf, takes a careful sip, and checks the time on her phone. She is not thinking about mountains in Colombia. She is not imagining cargo ships crossing the Atlantic, or warehouse workers unloading crates before sunrise. She does not wonder how many contracts were signed or how many forecasts were made somewhere deep inside corporate offices. For her, it is simply a Tuesday morning. Coffee before work. One small routine before the day properly begins. And yet, in those few seconds at the counter, something far larger quietly unfolded. Fields, ports, factories, offices, algorithms, drivers, traders, and hands she will never see, all played their part. The world briefly converged inside a paper cup. Then the moment passes. She walks towards the station and disappears into the crowd. The cafe serves the next customer. The farmer continues tending his crop. The cargo ships keep moving across the ocean. None of them stop to think about the pattern connecting them all. But from this point onward, economics is no longer just a collection of isolated personal choices. It becomes something larger. A system. A web of decisions linked through signals, stretching far beyond what any single person can fully see
or understand, which is both impressive and slightly terrifying, depending on how much faith you place in exhausted humans with spreadsheets.
Elena never needed to understand the system for the system to work. That is the strange power of the market. Millions of strangers scattered across the world, adjusting to one another through signals they barely notice. No shared plan, no central mind. Just prices, incentives, and endless small decisions linking together into something far larger than any individual intention. Here is the thought to carry forward. The market creates cooperation without requiring personal trust. But that cooperation comes at a cost. The system simplifies human life into signals it can process: prices, transactions, purchasing power. What cannot be translated into those signals becomes harder for the market to see. And that raises the next question. What happens when desire exists, but the ability to pay does not? When people want something deeply, yet the market barely reacts at all? In the next episode, we move to one of the most misunderstood ideas in economics: demand. Because wanting something is not always enough. If what you have just watched made you pause and think, that was the intention. This film is only one chapter from a much larger story. The book it comes from explores 34 of the most misunderstood ideas in economics. It began as something personal. A father trying to explain the world to his teenage daughter. Why prices rise. Why some societies prosper while others struggle. Why good intentions often produce unexpected consequences. The film shows only part of the picture. The book goes further, with additional chapters and ideas that never appeared in the series. If you would like to explore the full journey, What People Get Wrong About Economics is available now on Amazon. The link is in the description below.